This is an important segment of the sculptural trail where you are seeing juxtapose three cultures, discovering how to improve the family institution. The family started with the phase of matriarchy, powerful women who are without a particular structure in their developing a family. And the dynamics evolve spontaneously as the mother has to be powerful, dealing with the threats of that particular phase in the development of this institution. It is represented by the Aztec matriarchy, where Coatlicue is featured as a woman who is very powerful and very dominant and paranoid, afraid of her own daughter. And she has her son, Huitzilopochtli, killing her daughter, the moon goddess, Coyolxauhqui, as well as the siblings. So the public is controlled by this very dominant, antagonistic mother and feeling very submissive in her influence and serving her need for blood sacrifices. The Aztec calendar presents the history of civilization as 4 cycles where you have a destruction of the universe. And the only way to avert the 5th destruction is by constantly offering blood sacrifices, by capturing individuals of other tribes and sacrifice them on top of the pyramids, extracting their hearts and putting them on the dish of Chacmol, who is featured here as reclining and having a pot on his belly on which the bleeding heart of the victims is placed. So this is the beginning of the family with matriarchy. The second phase is evolving from matriarchy to patriarchy in Greece. And here we have the development of the Greek family with Zeus presented on a throne with a woman on his lap and his wife being angry next to him, holding 2 snakes up in the air. This is the situation of the Olympic god's religion, which entails inequity between genders and the rivalry between men and women. Prometheus is the key figure of creating humans, and he's foretelling the future, both stealing the fire of the gods and giving it to the humans, but also foretelling Zeus that he was going to be killed in his turn by his children. The way that pattern is repeated from Uranus, who was killed by Cronus, and Cronus by Zeus. In his turn, he was going to be killed by his own children. And this entailed the initiative of Zeus to eliminate his wife, Metis, by swallowing her. And out of his head came her child, who is Athena. And Athena was fully armed upon her birth with a shield that had featured the head of Medusa, the woman with the snakes, who was decapitated by Perseus. So this is the symbolism of the battle of the genders for control of the family. And Zeus is a powerful god without respect of the feelings of his spouse, either by eating her or by neglecting her, and having 50 documented affairs and many children out of these relationships. So next to him is Hera, holding two snakes that she has placed on the crib of Hercules, and she's stepping on the image of a cow, which is representing Eos, Zeus's girlfriend, transformed into a cow, that Hera transformed her into a cow and gave her husband, Argos Panoptis, 100 eyes to watch over her. So this is the conflict of the Greek gods that is inspired the epic of the Iliad and the Odyssey, which are featured in the exhibit. The family leadership is controlled by two goddesses, Athena versus Aphrodite, while Athena is presenting wisdom, virginity, and control of sexuality. Aphrodite is the opposite, does not want to see women's sexuality compromised by the vows. So we're seeing here the consequences of this conflict manifested as Ares, who has not been invited in a party, tossing an apple which is inscribed to the fairest in a gathering of the gods, and three women competing on who is going to get the apple, and finding Paris as a judge. And Aphrodite is bribing him by giving him a most beautiful woman, and Paris falls for that. And this is the problem, where this woman has vowed to be faithful. Helen of Troy allegedly had 10 lovers, and the Greek men said, we do not share well, so you choose one, make your vows, and then we'll make sure that you stay faithful to him. So in the transaction here with Paris assisting, enabling the breakup of the vows, is creating a big conflict, which is the essence of the Iliad as a war between the Trojans and the Greeks. 1,000 ships of Greek men attacking Ilion, Troy, to punish a woman who has run away from her husband. The Greeks prevail over Troy, destroy Troy, but upon his return to Argos, the vows are defeated because Agamemnon was killed by his wife Clytemnestra and her lover Aegisthus. The epic of the Iliad is concluded with a tragedy where children, Orestes and Electra, kill the mother, Clytemnestra. And we see here the sculpture of the mother as a sphinx-like woman, and the children, Orestes and Electra, as being very remorseful, Electra having tears of blood, blue blood, and Orestes having red blood in his hands. So this is the story of the Iliad, which we respect as a great poem, but it has a moral message. Now the Odyssey is repairing this tragedy and giving us a good conflict resolution with the vows being respected. And we see this resolution in the sculpture of Odysseus, who is tied on the mast of a boat to restrain himself from losing control with the sirens. So he's listening to the music, but he's not getting himself in trouble. And then this is the secret for Odysseus respecting the vows. And we see him coming home to his wife, Penelope, who is presented there with the crocheting of a shroud. And the shroud was used as a way of keeping the suitors at a distance. because the excuse that Penelope had to keep the suitors at a distance is telling them that she had to finish her shroud. Now, next to Penelope, we see her son, Telemachus, also welcoming his father, and we also see a dog, Argos, recognizing Odysseus upon his homecoming. This is a major event, and to promote its significance for the gods of Olympus, we have a boat full of men gods arriving with presents to celebrate the event. So we have there the boat with presents that consists from Hermes, Apollo, Ares, Poseidon, and Dionysus that are presenting the celebration of the victory of the vows. And the message is good for Zeus, as he is the one who has the conflict that is being addressed by the Homeric epics to its resolution. So the conclusion of this sculptural statement is the importance of the vows as the means for a happy family. Now, that is the contribution of the Greek culture. The next station is the Abrahamic family. And there we see a sculpture that was constructed by Judith Brown that was in display at the Lincoln Center in '84, and that was presented there as the Egyptian theme. Here it is renamed as the Abrahamic family, featuring 3 patriarchs on thrones, with 4 diminutive women below them, the matriarchs, and 2 big birds, which are Horus birds, but representing for us the concubines with beaks to peck on the wives. So this is an interesting development that I explain as the transformation of the family to a new phase, the phase of celebration of the Father-Son covenant. There is an interesting story that is celebrated in the New Year portion of the Bible, which is about the sacrifice of Isaac. I have an explanation of the sacrifice of Isaac as the need for differentiating which is the right attitude for a wife and a son that Abraham conceived by telling his 2 wives and children who wanted to inherit his leadership that God is demanding from him the sacrifice of a child, and he's turning to his 2 wives, asking them which one of them is willing to let him sacrifice a child. Of course, this is my interpretation of that story. And the explanation is the one wife protects her child from the father and is saying, I'm willing to go to the desert with the boy rather than see him die here. And Sarah, unlike Hagar, has an attitude of respect and cooperation. And she says to the child, listen to your father, carry the wood for your sacrifice. So that is a very painful position for a mother to assume. And the story says that Sarah passed away while Abraham was testing Isaac on the way to his sacrifice. And that is significant because it shows the willingness of a mother to sacrifice herself and her son to creating a better father-son relationship. And we celebrate this willingness of a mother to step down by recognizing the importance of the Father-Son covenant, men bound by the respect of the divine, the one God. So the contribution of the Jewish culture is presenting for the family to be viable and successful the willingness of a woman to step down from in protecting a child from a father and being able to release the child trustfully to her husband. And the institution has developed as the bar mitzvah transition, when a child is mature, to enter the community of men and severing the relationship with mother and women. This is the dedication of father-son relationship to the study of the one God, which has helped to establish a stable Judaic family, inspiring eventually transformation of that family with the Messianic religions, which helped to reverse the inequity of the Jewish family by having a mother-child alliance versus a father-son covenant. The Messianic religions were inspired protecting women's rights, but eventually they were polarized, and again women lost political power in the new families. But happiness is established on these alternative paradigms. Thank you.